Who gets you in the divorce, Trump or Elon?
Let me just tell you what every Republican is doing. I have here's where we are today. We're literally, heads are in the garbage can right now. That's the state of everybody I know at the moment. Not going to lie, it's an ugly day. You hate it when your friends are fighting. I continue to believe that their partnership last year saved America, and I also continue to believe their goals are not mutually exclusive. Trump needs to pass his agenda, which this bill is his agenda. It's what he ran on. Elon wants to save America from going bankrupt, which they can also do if the Republicans in Congress and everybody works together. All of these things can happen. When fights get personal, though, it means the enemy is advancing. And in this case, it means the Democrats are laughing and advancing. So hopefully cooler heads will soon prevail and the president can get his agenda and Elon can convince the Republicans that the debt is a serious problem. But not going to lie, rough day for the Republicans.
All right, guys. Well, personally, I'm in a little bit of an interesting position here because I just recorded an entire video talking about the Elon-Trump feud and what's happening next, right? Because you had Elon calling for Trump to be impeached and all this new stuff. And then as of just a couple of minutes ago, literally while I was recording the video, it turns out Elon Musk is now going out and suggesting he wants to make peace, right? And the reason I bring that up is because, as you can see here, Bill Ackman just tweeted out saying, quote, "I support real Donald Trump and Elon Musk and think they should make peace for the benefit of our great country. We are much stronger together than apart," which is, of course, something I was saying, and I think we were all saying, by the way, the entire time, right? That was truly MAGA's reaction to the whole thing. I mean, look, people have their own opinions on government spending and the actual big, beautiful bill. Is Trump right about it? Is Elon right about it? Whatever. But fundamentally, okay, they can disagree. They can even publicly disagree. But the idea that, we should be going out here and tearing each other apart. I mean, as I said in the first video, that is exactly what the Democrats wanted to see. But as you can see in response here, Elon Musk is now saying, "You are not wrong," right? That was his response. "You're not wrong. We're stronger together than apart. They should make peace with each other for the benefit of our great country." So that's certainly good to see. Now, at the same time, does it seem a little bit, I guess, strange or suspect that after saying that he was on the Epstein list and calling for Trump to be impeached, suddenly now Elon is like, "Oh, we should make peace, guys." So, frankly, I don't know what mental state I'll say Elon was in. I think it certainly pokes a hole in the whole Epstein narrative that people were pushing because Elon said it. Now he's saying he wants to make peace, So was he on the Epstein list or was he not, Elon? What's going on here? But okay, anyways, right? That's the overall point. Seems like Elon, as you can see, is calmed down, I guess we will say. He says, "You're not wrong." Heidi responds here by saying, "Please make up, don't kiss," though. Elon is laughing, right? He's kind of making good fun out of the entire situation. You'll also see he's like reacting to memes, and suddenly now he's in a good mood. He's like, "Oh, maybe he's realizing he didn't have to react that way," right? I don't know, because again, as I said, you disagree with the bill, fine. I will reiterate, I think Elon misunderstands it, but do you really have to behave in the way he was? Not really, right? Turns out in politics, you can just disagree about things and then talk about it like men and not accuse each other of being, sex predators, but it is what it is. But anyways, nonetheless, so this puts us in a little bit of an awkward position because, as I said, I just recorded an entire video showcasing what Elon was saying about impeachment and all this stuff, and I guess as of now, it is outdated, but it is worth noting the chronology here, so I do still want to play, I guess, the original video I had recorded just a couple minutes ago that tells you everything about it. With that said, keep in mind, some comments I make here will be outdated because I did talk about how, they're not making up, this is bad. But nonetheless, okay, that said, this context now in mind, I want to play the original video and then we'll come back here and debrief on the entire thing that we just witnessed. But before Elon was agreeing to maybe make peace with Trump, here was what was going on just a couple hours before. Take a listen. As much as, again, I don't want this to be personal, I want this to go away, okay? I don't really harbor resentment over this. But it's an objective fact at this point, all this basically has turned into is a temper tantrum by Elon Musk. I mean, that's just the truth. Initially, it started over the big, beautiful bill, which, as I argued in the last video, I will retain here. I think Elon is wrong about. I think he misunderstands what the CBO, for instance, is saying, and there is no actual proof. This would add to the deficit. Sure, is it a perfect bill? No, but it is a fundamentally conservative bill that actually cuts down on spending in massive ways. We'll talk about that later. Forget all of that. So not only in the last video, as we covered, did he accuse Donald Trump of being in the Epstein files, but now, I kid you not, later on today, Elon has now called for Donald Trump, or at least endorsed the idea of Donald Trump being impeached. And he also seemingly called to raise Americans' taxes instead of passing the big, beautiful bill. And to an extent, it's like, is this what Elon always wanted? We're not exactly sure. We're a little bit confused. But in this video, I want to discuss this new wave that Elon is taking. I don't know, as well as show you what Steve Bannon recently had to say, because he's going viral for some comments in response to Elon. And I agree with some of it. I disagree with some of it, but it is worth talking about. So folks, do us a favor. If you enjoy the content, make sure you hit that like button down below and subscribe if you are new. You subscribing to the channel is the best way to support these videos and ensure that we can keep bringing them to you. And with that in mind, so again, you know, as I said, Elon, very upset right now. It's an objective fact that he sort of started this, okay? He was attacking Trump's bill a lot. Trump said some mild comments today responding. And now Elon has said he was in the Epstein files, Trump should be impeached, and the raising taxes. So let's cover the last two since we already did the first one. So as you can see, what am I talking about? Well, just earlier today, this guy right here, Ian Miles Chong, who, by the way, is a guy living in Malaysia. He is not American. I don't even know if he's ever been to America, but one of the biggest, political commentators on X for some reason. He says, President Trump versus Elon. Who wins? My money is on Elon. Goes on here to say, Trump should be impeached and JD Vance should replace him. So not only is this post saying no cordial split, right? No, the two should be at total war. Because as I said in the last video, if the two are going to break up, then just go your separate ways, do your own thing. That's honestly the worst thing you could have, is both of these people are trying to devote their energy to fighting each other instead of fulfilling their own goals or trying to do good for the country. But okay. But on top of that, right? You see it right here. Trump should be impeached. What does Elon Musk respond by saying on X? He says, yes. Okay. So we have that again. It's kind of getting beyond you disagree with the budget bill. It's frankly pretty crazy of a 180, right? To a couple months ago, he says he loves Donald Trump. Donald Trump's his best friend. I think the exact words in that tweet originally was like, I love Donald Trump as much as you can love any heterosexual man. To 2 months later, I should say, you want him to be impeached. Okay, so, as I said, I want to keep an open mind and hope this all boils over, but this is pretty indefensible behavior from Elon, and honestly pretty out there. But nonetheless, here is another thing I want to address, which is he also retweeted this right here, which, read into this as you will. Maybe you'll say, oh, the retweeting isn't the endorsement, but given everything else, I think it's pretty clear. As you can see, reposted by Elon Musk, this tweet goes on to say, Elon's stance is principled, Trump's stance is practical. Tech needs Republicans for the present. Republicans need tech for the future. But here's where it gets spicy. The statement here says what? Drop the tax cuts, cut some pork, get the bill through. Let's read that again. Drop the tax cuts, cut some pork, get the bill through. Pretty clearly here, unless I misunderstand, what this post appears to be calling for. And this is coming from the pro-Elon side. They're the ones who say that, oh, the big, beautiful bill does not cut enough out of the government, or it's going to contribute too much to the deficit. They are saying that in order to get this bill through and satisfy the libertarian supposed thirst of not having a deficit, that we should apparently not fulfill the move to, first of all, do things like no tax on tips, which we promised on the campaign trail. But secondly, the big one here, they're saying that we shouldn't, Elon is endorsing the idea, it would seem, that we should not renew the 2017 Trump tax cuts, which of course would mean in 2026, you're going to go to pre-2017 levels of taxation. So every American's tax bracket is going to go up by about at least 2 to 3%. You're going to see thousands of dollars on average increased in your tax bill. Let's put it very straightforward. If they do not pass the big beautiful bill, and if they take the Trump tax cuts out of the big beautiful bill, yeah, guess what's going to happen, ladies and gentlemen? That is a tax hike on Americans. This is endorsing the idea of raising taxes on the American people. And I think it goes without saying, okay? Here's the thing. You can defend Elon all you want. As I said in the last video, I made the argument. I do not think he's correct about the big beautiful bill. I think the deficit it's not understood correctly, right? The projections by the CBO forecast very negative economic growth that I think are not consistent with the historical track record we saw on tax cuts. And for instance, the original tax cuts back in 2017 actually raised tax revenue. The CBO was wrong about their projection. Again, it is a projection. It is conjecture. It is not a provable fact. All of that aside, you can agree with Elon. You can say you don't like the spending of the big beautiful bill. You can say you want to cut more, which I certainly do not disagree. That cutting more is always good. No issue with that. But the idea right here that Elon and his supporters are endorsing raising taxes on the American people by letting the 2017 Trump tax cuts expire, which of course, that's been policy for almost a decade now. Okay. So you're going to see a tax hike, is ridiculous. I think it goes without saying it's not conservative. It's certainly not Republican, okay? Yeah, that's what the American people voted for. They voted to raise taxes. But here's the thing as well. Even on the argument that I know they're going to make, which is to say, the reason we should allow the tax cuts to expire is because the deficit, right? We need to pay off the deficit, and therefore we should raise taxes on Americans. Apparently, that's what Elon is now saying, right? I want to point this out. You can say I'm wrong. Maybe I'm misinterpreting it. But this is the argument. We ought to raise taxes on Americans so that way that will reduce the budget deficit because more money will be flowing into the Treasury. Does it go without saying that is the literal economic argument of the Democrat Party? That's what they say all the time. That's why they say we should raise taxes because, if you raise taxes, first of all, that means more tax revenue. And forget the fact that the government doesn't spend money responsibly to begin with. Just raise the taxes. That'll be the solution. So I actually went on to say this, okay? I think this is very important. I'll just read it for you guys, okay? You Elon defenders, because a bunch of people on X are defending this tweet. They're saying, no, actually, we should raise taxes. Elon is right about this. Again, I thought this is the Republican Party. I thought we're concerned, goes without saying, right? But anyways, here's what I said. You Elon defenders sound like liberals, maybe because you are. Firstly, there is no proof that raising taxes, as there now is their big, bright idea to do, right? Idiotic, most dumbest thing ever, that raising taxes would reduce the deficit. Why? Because one central theory of right-wing economics, and I know it's crazy that we're preaching right-wing economics, not left-wing ones, but is that lower tax rates increase tax revenue because they create economic growth, right? That is to say, as we saw, but this is not conjecture, as we saw back in 2017 during the original Trump tax cuts that we're simply renewing here, the Congressional Budget Office said the same exact thing. They said, the deficit is going to hurt because America, the Treasury is going to get less tax revenue. What happened is the opposite. Tax revenue went up, right? The government got more money coming in. Why? Because the robust economy created by the deregulations had more money being created and therefore more, tax revenue going back. So that's the thing. That's the argument we've made for a long time, right? Tax cuts fuel economic growth, which fuels more tax revenue. Okay, this idea that, you can just tax your way out of even like the national debt is frankly ridiculous. It's two things. You need a functioning economy, and you also need, Elon is right about this part, politicians to stop spending less, right? It's not the American people's fault. You don't need to raise taxes on the American people. You need to cut the spending that you're currently doing. Elon's right about that part, which is, of course, confusing as to why he seems to be supporting, again, in their words, right, dropping the tax cuts. It's ridiculous. As I said, this is not conjecture. This is exactly what happened in 2017 when the Keynesian economists, right, not really such libertarian forecasting we're talking about here, were proven wrong already. But I guess suddenly we're not so libertarian anymore, right? Kind of strange. And secondly, as I said, where's the proof that the politicians will actually spend responsibly if we raise taxes? Because that's what they've been telling the American people for literally like a century, right? Hey, if we raise taxes, that'll help our budget problem. No, it never does. What do the politicians do? They still take out debt and they just keep on spending more in order to, oh, look, we have more money now. Let's do that, right? And, you know, as Elon has been basically saying, oh, the whole political system is corrupt. Nobody wants to, you know, lower the deficit at all. It's like, okay, then how will raising taxes actually fix any of that? It won't. It won't. I don't know why like anyone is defending the fact that he retweeted this, okay? But, you know, as I said, raising taxes will not fix the problem. That is literally just the argument of Democrats. This is exactly what Tim Walz says about the billionaires, Bernie Sanders, all these characters, right? And, you know, as I said, makes no sense. But that's where Elon currently is, it would appear. Okay? I hope he logs off and just cools off at the moment. But for now, he has said that Donald Trump is on the Epstein list. He has said Donald Trump should be impeached. And he's now endorsing the idea, again, let's not spin this. What's going to happen is that's going to raise taxes on Americans. Now, with that in mind, Steve Bannon at the current moment is, again, going viral here for some recent comments he made about Elon Musk. We'll show you we'll show you this in parts, but first of all, here is Steve talking about the very fact that now Elon, in the span of like 24 hours of melting down, is now calling for the impeachment. Take a listen.
And then as soon as President Trump comes out today, and President Trump saying it in the nicest way possible about the bill, right? The bill, ba-bing, ba-bang, ba, the guy gets up and starts tweeting the most vicious stuff you could tweet. So all the fanboys defend this. He accused President Trump of basically being a group with those pedophiles on the island. He called for the president to be impeached and JD Vance to take his role. As hard as we've worked in all the years that we've worked in this audience's work, some punk is going to sit there and go, he should be impeached. And hey, as sure as the turning of the earth, if those progressives rub up on him and say, hey, they're never going to buy the Teslas, we're going to buy the Teslas, they rub up on him, he'll write a $500 million check for Hakeem Jeffries. He'll be across the thing looking to impeach President Trump, looking to help steal the 28 election, looking to imprison President Trump. So here's my point. Let's get ahead of it. And let's get ahead of it tonight. There's lots to be done. This guy is all over the map. He's right. But he's emblematic of these oligarchs. All of them have the maturity of a 9-year-old, and they're dangerous. They're dangerous not just to the president of the United States. More importantly, they're dangerous to this republic and the citizens of this constitutional republic.
Yeah, so look, I really have no idea whether Elon Musk will actually go over to the Democrats. I think still probably a lot has to happen for it to go or descend all the way to that. But Steve Bannon does make some legitimate points there. Yes, absolutely. I mean, yeah, the nerve to work with this guy. He is correct. Trump did try to give, you know, it's clear they were disagreeing for some time now, but Trump tries to give him the most graceful send-off possible, right? That Oval Office thing, it was nice, it was sweet. And then the moment you're gone, whatever you think of the bill, by the way, okay, disagree about the bill all you want, that we will reiterate. I still think Elon is wrong about, but fine. You're going to call for him to be impeached? That's a little crazy, right? I don't know, right? But anyways, but however, right, Steve Bannon did say that. And apparently he's also gone out here and said that Trump should sign an executive order that would order the Defense Production Act to seize SpaceX and nationalize it. Now, to be clear, I do not agree with this part, but okay, take a listen though, because this is to give you an idea of the responses currently that Elon is getting. And of course, Steve Bannon, as one of the people who was always anti-Elon, he's kind of doing his victory tour at the moment. So take a listen.
Know anything. He's a know-it-all. He knows some engineering. Don't get me wrong. I give a hat tip for that, but he doesn't know anything about the real world. DOGE was, and for any fanboys that still exist, while you're wrapping up in your cape tonight, understand on DOGE, he didn't find any fraud. There's plenty of fraud out there. This was President Trump's first complaint. Was this all BS? Right, with the DOGE. The act that President Trump should be taking immediately, I think, when he threatens to take one of the big programs out of SpaceX, President Trump tonight should sign an executive order calling for the Defense Production Act to be called in SpaceX and seize SpaceX tonight before midnight.
Yeah, so look, whether Steve Bannon is trolling or serious, I will say this, okay? I think the biggest mistake Trump can make right now is to really get too involved. Respond to Elon if you want. If the reporters ask, you got to defend yourself. Okay, fine. But, that's the biggest way, frankly, to distract from what you're trying to do as an administration, to try to set this political vendetta against Elon. It would be kind of almost similar to Biden making his big political thing going after Trump, except unlike that situation, at least Biden going after Trump was popular with his own supporters. This is popular with no one. Maybe the Democrats, but even then, they're now apparently Team Elon, which we might talk about later in the video. But yeah, as I said, just ignore. Okay, just move on. Okay, I do not think, for instance, it is worth it to tank the only basically space program that the United States has simply over this petty personal political situation. But I think the same could be said about Elon, right? I think for Elon, look, if you're going to make this about, if you wanted to just kind of exit out the government and leave politics and try to make your businesses better because, Tesla is hurting because of your involvement with Trump and all that, that's like, okay, fine, no problem. But if you're going to, in your own case, right, make your own mission to be, I'm going to sabotage Trump, I'm going to sabotage the Republican Party. Revenge is a fool's game. Okay, the revenge game, can take you to very dark places, as we know. That's why I'm discouraging both sides from doing it. Okay, well, outdated video over. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as you can see, Elon is saying you're not wrong. They should make up. Elon is also going out here saying, because earlier he talked about how he was going to, 6 hours ago, he says SpaceX will begin decommissioning its Dragon spacecraft immediately in response to the comment by Trump about the, hey, look, the easiest way to save money in our budget is to terminate Elon's contracts. Someone here responds by saying, this is a shameful back and forth. You are both better than this. Cool off and take a step back for a couple days. Elon, as you can see, responds saying, good advice. Okay, we won't decommission the Dragon. So, it's kind of like watching the trade war, huh? It's like, it's over. We're going to go total trade war, 100% tariff, 200%. Oh, now it's 10%. Why? Same thing. I don't know what's going on, but he's laughing, as you can see, about memes in response to JD Vance and all this stuff. I mean, there you overall have it. But yeah, as I said earlier, so yeah, again, hours ago, Elon is talking about Trump being with Epstein and all this stuff. He says the Trump tariffs are going to cause a recession. He calls for Trump to be impeached, as we talked about earlier. Now he's like, maybe we should make peace. I agree, guys. So, I don't know. Whatever the reason, people are going to speculate about certain things, maybe substances being involved, whatever. I will say it is just generally an overall good thing. Hopefully, as I said, if the relationship is done, if they're never going to get along again, okay, just leave each other alone, right? Sometimes that is for the best. But all right, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, there is the full story. I assume we're up to date now on everything that's happened with Elon. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section down below. Be sure to leave a like on this video, subscribe if you are new. And until next time, God bless and peace.